Hello everyone, so today we're going to make cottage pie with vegetables and gravy. So first of all, what we need to do is boil our potatoes. So I'm just going to show you how to peel and slice the potatoes and get them ready to put in the boil. Okay. So I've chosen this dish. You have to use what you've got. This is all I've got, so it's very shallow. You might want a slightly deeper one. It probably would work better if you did, but I'm going to use this one. So because I'm using that, I don't need that many potatoes really, because obviously I can't put too much on the top. But I'm going to do 3 and then see how we get on. 3 should probably be plenty, but it depends how thick you like your potato topping. So just going to peel these potatoes. I would advise getting a proper peeler if you can, rather than using a knife the old-fashioned way. They are a lot safer. Or alternatively, if you would really struggle with this element, you can actually just buy mash already made. So that's up to you. Personally, I do think it tastes slightly better when you make it yourself. But it is up to you. If it makes your life a lot easier, feel free. Okay, I'll come back to you when I've peeled these potatoes. Okay, so I've peeled the potatoes. They are ready to be chopped. So I would chop them fairly small if you can, because they'll take less time to boil. So I'm going to chop each potato. So they're approximately that size, and then once you've done that, pop them into your pan with some water and some salt. Only a pinch of salt, you don't need loads. Okay folks, so in my saucepan I've got my potatoes, I've covered them in water, and I'm just going to add a little bit of salt. That's enough. And then that goes onto your stove, so if you come with me, goes onto the stove. And we're going to pop that on to boil. So we do want it to boil. So we'll just show you, it's on quite a high heat there. In fact, it's on the highest heat until it starts boiling, and then I'm just going to have to keep an eye on it because we don't want it to boil over. So you do need to watch it, okay? So we'll give those around 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and we'll test them with a fork to see if they're soft enough. And then we'll go from there. Okay guys, so when your potatoes are boiling, they should look a little bit like this. Obviously just keep an eye on it, because mine is probably going to boil over shortly. So I'm just going to turn it down now to a medium heat, but I want it to still continue to boil. So I'll see that it's still boiling, but it's calming down a little bit. So more like this. Okay. And now it's 15 to 20 minutes like that then. Okay guys, so I've now got a frying pan ready. So while your potatoes are cooking, you can do this bit at the same time if you feel comfortable to do it. Obviously don't if you're not comfortable with it, because obviously you've got to watch the two things. So first of all, into your frying pan you need to put some oil. I'm using sunflower oil, use vegetable oil, whatever oil you like, even olive oil if you want. And all we need is about a tablespoon, okay? You can measure that properly using a tablespoon, feel free. I just choose to just guesstimate really. Okay, so what you're going to put into there first is your onion and your carrots. So we need 1 white onion, and we're going to chop the 2 ends off first, like this. That's it. And peel away the brown skin that we don't want, and put that to one side. We don't want any remnants on the chopping board, so get all of the bits off the chopping board. That's it. Okay, and then we're going to chop the onion down the middle. So we've got 2 halves like this. Chop it down the middle again, and then this is where it gets a little bit more difficult now. Because you have to try and hold them down and hold them still. Please be careful, and if you need someone to help, please get someone to help you. There are devices you can buy to help with things like chopping onions as well, so if you need to get a device, feel free. You can use food processor to just dice it for you. So whatever you need to do, feel free. Okay, so once you've got it, I'm not going to dice it. Not quite. So I'm leaving them relatively chunky big pieces because they will wilter down anyway. And then I'm going to pop that straight into the oil in the frying pan. It's not on the heat yet, as you can see. And then what we're going to do next is some carrot. I've got an absolutely huge carrot here. So I'd say use 1 carrot, but because mine's massive, I'm only going to use half. And then we need a potato peeler. And just peel your carrot. Take off the outside skin, make a nice fresh part in the middle. And get rid of that. Again, you don't have to peel it. Some people don't, but a lot of people prefer it peeled. Slice that down the middle again, so you've got 2 flat edges to start with your topping. Again, slice down the middle of both. And I'm going to slice them one more time because this is such a big carrot. And then I'm going to do little slices at the end of each of the carrot like this. Okay, just to try and get a dice because we don't want huge bits of carrot. Okay, and that then goes straight into the pan as well. And we're going to pop that on the heat now. So you're going to put it on a medium heat just to let those 2 things in the pan just get nice and soft. Okay folks, so now we're going to add the mince. It's 500 grams of mince of your choice. This is a vegetarian mince. You can use beef mince. In a cottage pie, traditionally it's beef mince. So otherwise, if you use lamb mince, it'll be a shepherd's pie, which is absolutely fine as well. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add this mince. As you take it out the packet, crumb it up a little bit. It helps to break it up because it cooks more evenly when you break it up. So try and break it up if you can. Obviously be very careful not to touch the pan because it will be very hot. And there we go. Add all of the mince in. Okay. And then you need to give that a really good stir and allow it to get a little bit browned. Make sure you keep stirring it and make sure all the bits of mince, especially if you're using meat, but even so without, if it's a vegetarian version, make sure that they get browned to make sure that they are cooked through, okay? So we'll keep stirring that, and then once it's browned, we can add the stock. So what you need to do now is go and put your kettle on and get a jug next to the kettle and 2 beef stock cubes ready in the jug, okay? Okay guys, so now what we need to do is get a kettle, fill it with water and pop it on, ready for it to boil. And then we need 2 stock cubes of your choice. For this recipe it recommends beef stock cubes. I'm personally going to use vegetable ones. It's up to you. So you just crumble the stock cubes. You need to make sure you crumble them in your fingers. Just break them up a little bit so they're easier to dissolve. Okay guys, so my 2 stock cubes are crumbled in here, ready to go. My kettle's just boiled, so now I'm just going to pour the water in, and you want 350 ml of water. Be very careful with the hot water. And then we just give that a really good stir and make sure everything's dissolved, okay? So before your stock goes into your pan, you're just going to add a few more things into the stock, which are going to give extra flavour. So bear with me a second. So you're going to use Worcester sauce, and we're going to put 1 tablespoon of Worcester sauce in, straight into your stock. It's quite a bit. I love Worcester sauce, so I'm quite happy with that. 1 tablespoon of that into your stock. And then you need to put 1 teaspoon of mixed herbs. I haven't got mixed herbs, so I'm using a couple of herbs of my choice, which happens to be oregano and rosemary. And I'm going to use half a teaspoon of both, but please use mixed herbs. That's the ideal. I just didn't happen to have any on me today. But you can copy me and do the same if you want, and use the two herbs I'm using. It will taste fine. That's how I tend to do it anyway. So when I have made this before, but the recipe does say mixed herbs. Stir that into your stock. The stock should be smelling nice and fragrant now. Okay guys, so what I've just done is I've just added a tablespoon of flour, plain flour, on top of the mixture. I've added some peas. I'm using tinned peas, so it's absolutely fine for them to go in at this point because they're already cooked. But if your vegetable of choice, if you choose not to use peas, isn't cooked, then obviously put it in with the carrots and the onions at the start to cook it off. Then I've added the stock mixture we already made up, and I'm just stirring it through on a medium heat still. I'm just going to leave that to simmer for about 5 minutes. Your potatoes, if you haven't already took them off the heat, will be done by now, or they should be done by now once you've made the mixture for the bottom. Okay guys, so when you think your potatoes are done, just test them with a fork. Yeah, and if they're nice and soft and the fork goes through quite easily, then they're ready. Okay, so what you want to do now is drain them. So grab yourself a colander. There we go, drain the potatoes, and you can put them back in the same pan to mash. Okay, so then you just need to grab your masher and a tablespoon. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a splash of milk, about that much, but you can judge it. Just put less in if you want to, because then you can always add more. And probably less than that. About a tablespoon roughly of butter, and then we're just going to mash that together. Okay guys, and once you have a nice smooth mash, then you're ready to pop that on top in a mould. Okay guys, so once your mince bottom part of your cottage pie has been on the stove in the stock for about 5-10 minutes. We don't want it obviously to dry up, we don't want the stock to reduce down too much. So just 5 or 10 minutes. Once you're happy with it, then it needs to go into the tins. I've actually got 2 tins now because I looked at how much stuff there was and I thought this is going to make 2. But that's absolutely fine because you can freeze this. Very freezable once it's cooled down. So that's okay if it ends up making a bit too much. I'll leave that with you. Okay, so I'm just going to go and fetch the bottom ingredients. Okay, so this is the bottom of our cottage pie, which has been simmering away in the pan. Looking very nice. So what we do with this now is we're going to spoon it into our tins. You want to make a nice layer on the bottom, nice and roughly about a couple of centimetres high really, if you can. Make sure that it's nice and flat so it's getting to all the edges. Okay, that's the one done. And then obviously because I'm making 2, I'm going to put it in the oven as well. And flatten it down in there. Okay. So that's the first part done. Okay, then you need to bring over your mashed potato, and you need another serving spoon again to spoon it out and pop it on the top. Okay, so with the mashed potato, you're just going to pop it on the top and press it down, but not press it down too much, just a little bit, just so that it seems to cover okay. And try and get it to cover the whole of the pie if you can. Might look a little bit rusty. Okay, I'll just do the one to show you for now. So the 3 potatoes actually is probably enough for the one of these size tins. Doesn't matter if the potato goes over ever so much. A little bit over the top, just don't want it really going over the sides if you can help it. Try and get it to cover all the edges, so you can't see any of your mixture underneath. Okay, and then if you want to be fancy, you can get a fork and just draw lines across it, across the mash. Just be careful it doesn't drag it everywhere, like mine is. So it just looks a little bit nicer on the top. Okay, like that. This is now ready to go into the oven, so I'll just get the oven instructions and then get ready for that. Okay, so we're going to put the oven on gas mark 7. And we're going to put it in the middle of the oven. It only needs to be in for about 10 to 15 minutes. The purpose really is to brown the top. You can also do it under the grill, by the way. I prefer to do it in the oven, personal preference, but you can do it under the grill. Just keep a really close eye on it because it'll catch quite easily. As in it will burn on the top quite easily. So I'm going to put it into the oven, gas mark 7, probably 15 minutes once the oven's actually heated up. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll have a look at the pie once it's finished.